Somewhere in an aquarium, a creature smaller than your hand once threw a single punch and shattered the glass tank around it. Not cracked it, shattered it. You'd assume that story got exaggerated somewhere along the way. It didn't. The real explanation is far stranger than the myth, and it involves something happening inside the water itself that's genuinely hotter than the surface of the sun. The animal responsible is the peacock mantis shrimp, a rainbow-colored crustacean about 6 inches long that most people would assume is completely harmless. It isn't. Mantis shrimp come in 2 basic weapon types. Spearers stab prey with barbed, blade-like arms. Smashers do something far more violent. They swing a hardened, club-shaped appendage called a dactyl club, and that swing is one of the fastest, most destructive strikes in the entire animal kingdom. The biomechanist Sheila Patek, now at Duke University, spent years filming these strikes with ultra-high-speed cameras specifically because normal footage couldn't even register what was happening. What she found, published in a landmark study on the peacock mantis shrimp strike forces, was almost hard to believe. The dactyl club accelerates to over 50 miles an hour underwater, one of the densest, most resistant environments a punch could possibly travel through. The entire strike happens in under 80 microseconds, roughly 50 times faster than a human eye can blink. And the force behind it measures around 15,000 newtons, comparable to well over 2,000 times the shrimp's own body weight landing in a single point of impact. Here's the part that should be physically impossible. No shrimp muscle is strong enough to generate that kind of force directly, and Patek's research explains exactly how the animal cheats its way around that limit. The mantis shrimp doesn't swing with raw muscle power at all. It slowly winds up energy into a spring-and-latch mechanism inside its arm, similar in principle to pulling back a crossbow, storing tension over a longer period. Then it releases all of that stored energy in a single instant, delivering roughly 100 times more power than its muscles could ever produce on their own in real time. But the club impact isn't even the most destructive part of the strike, and this is where the story gets genuinely bizarre. Patek's cameras caught something happening a fraction of a second after each hit. The dactyl club moves through the water so violently fast that it drops the pressure of the water directly in front of it low enough to cause the water itself to boil, forming tiny vapor bubbles. Those bubbles then collapse back in on themselves almost instantly, and that collapse releases a second, independent shockwave, sometimes carrying nearly 4 times more force than the original physical impact. This process is called cavitation, and it's violent enough on its own to pit solid stainless steel boat propellers over time. So here's the twist nobody expects. The mantis shrimp technically doesn't even need to make contact with its target to do damage. Researchers have documented strikes where the club misses the prey entirely, and the cavitation shockwave still stuns or kills it anyway. You're not just watching an animal punch something. You're watching it detonate a tiny, self-generated explosion in the water beside its target, on purpose, using nothing but speed. And that collapsing cavitation bubble does something even stranger still. As it implodes, the sudden compression briefly superheats the gas trapped inside to somewhere around 20,000 Kelvin, hotter than the roughly 5,500 degrees Celsius measured at the surface of our sun. It lasts for an almost immeasurably tiny fraction of a second, and it's far too small and brief to boil the surrounding ocean, but it is genuinely, physically real. Every single mantis shrimp strike briefly creates one of the hottest temperatures naturally occurring anywhere on the planet, inside a bubble smaller than a grain of rice, next to a creature that fits in your palm. That's exactly why a mantis shrimp in captivity was documented on camera destroying its own aquarium glass with repeated strikes in a widely circulated BBC segment. It wasn't an aggressive fluke or bad luck with weak glass. Standard aquarium glass simply isn't built to survive repeated 15,000 Newton impacts layered with independent cavitation shockwaves. Public aquariums that keep smasher mantis shrimp on display now specifically house them in reinforced acrylic tanks for exactly this reason. Think about what that means the next time you assume small equals harmless. This is an animal with no bones, no venom most people worry about, and a body you could hold in one hand, and it is still capable of briefly recreating solar temperatures and firing what amounts to an underwater shockwave weapon, purely through the physics of speed and pressure. Evolution didn't need to make this creature large or dangerous looking to make it one of the most destructive point strikers in nature. It just needed to make it fast enough to break the water itself. Somewhere in an aquarium, a creature smaller than your hand once threw a single punch and shattered the glass tank around it. Now you know it wasn't really one punch at all. It was a punch followed by a tiny, superheated implosion, both aimed at the exact same spot, faster than you could ever see either one land.